Hello, I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer, or maybe today it's Garrett McBoyer, Garrett O'Boyer. I don't know. Here we are, close to St. Patrick's Day, so I think everybody is a little bit Irish today. I don't know which one of those names sounds better to you, but either way, this is Gospel Minded, an outreach of Benedictus Psychological Services. Interested in help from a Catholic Christian perspective? If so, check out benedictuspsych.com. Here at Gospel Minded, we spend a few minutes each week talking about psychology, our emotions, attitudes, beliefs, behavioral health, and we reflect on how these important topics are related to the Sunday Gospel reading each week. I always point out this is no substitute for actually getting yourself to Mass or going to church, spiritual direction, counseling, therapy, if you are involved in those sort of practices. But like we know so well, things of our psychology and our mind so often go beautifully hand in hand with our spirituality. So, if this is your first time checking out our podcast, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. Either way, I hope that you will like this video and will subscribe to the channel so that way you never miss an episode of Gospel Minded or any of our other episodes. So, here we are. I mentioned we're close to St. Patrick's Day, big celebration, right? But here we are also scooting right along throughout the season of Lent. Man, hard to believe now we're already at the second Sunday of Lent. And the gospel today is very interesting. So it comes from St. Luke, and this is what it says. It says, Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. But he did not know what he was saying. And while he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them, and they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, This is my chosen son. Listen to him. So really a magnificent scene from today's gospel reading. It's that scene of the transfiguration. I think there's so much here, just a rich text when we certainly speak about spirituality, this idea of ascending the mountain, that place of encounter with the Lord, and hear this blessed experience that Peter and John and James have to see this dialogue between the Lord and then Moses and Elijah. But what I want to focus on is this reaction of Peter, because this is not only classic Peter, but you and I do the same thing. So here he's in this very unusual and unique situation, seeing the Lord transfigured, conversing with these prophets from of old. I have to believe that were I in his shoes, I too may not have exactly known what to say or what to do. So what does Peter say? He's like, Master, it's good that we're here. Let us make 3 tents for you. Really? Tents in this situation, Peter? But I think that's a very normal response. You see, what Peter was comfortable with was tent making. And when he was faced with something new, something unique, something different, something that he was not used to, why not fall back on that which he knows and that which he was comfortable with? And yeah, sure, I can poke fun and tease Peter, but you and me, like we do this same thing. I do this same thing. If I'm in a new situation or I'm facing something different or unique, it's easy to fall back on what we've been comfortable with, on what we know. So now there are times that this can be really, really unhelpful. Take, for example, when we are in a scenario or situation where we just feel like we can't cope, like we don't have the resources and we fall back on whatever comfortable vice or problem du jour that has been there before. I'm thinking about the person who just has a really hard time dealing with stressful situations, and so their response has been to eat comfort food, and so they'll get into that headspace of I don't know what to do here. I'm gonna eat unhealthy things and snack, and that makes me feel a little bit better. Or the person who reaches for an alcoholic beverage or an illicit substance to try and cope with challenges or uncertainty or difficulty. Those things certainly less helpful. But even the things that are not necessarily in and of themselves bad, in certain situations, are they the most helpful? I was reminded as I was reading this gospel of when I was a kid. I was playing baseball in high school, and we were in a very tight game against a school that was a couple towns over. And we were going deep into the game, seventh inning, and in high school we only played 7 innings. And I think we were either tied or had the lead going in close to the end of the game. And wouldn't you know it, the other team got runners on base, and they ended up getting runs and went ahead and won the game. And I remember sitting in the dugout and we were like just kind of shocked. Like we couldn't believe that we had a good lead and we lost it. We were just sort of bamboozled by the whole experience. Nobody knew exactly what to say or what to do. And there was this guy in the dugout who also didn't know what to say or what to do. And he said, I know, let's sing a song to try and lighten the mood or cheer us up. He didn't know how else to react. And so his response was, well, to break this awkward silence and tension, let's sing a song. It'll maybe lighten the mood. In actuality, it made things a little worse. I think about it too with like parents. What I have done with my oldest kid, it's familiar to me. It worked with my older kid, but there might be something now that my younger kids need, and my response that I would have used for my older children isn't going to work the same way. And even though I might be inclined to want to do it that way, because I've seen it before, I've seen it work before, maybe in this new situation with this new child with their own set of circumstances and challenges and issues, they're going to respond better to a different intervention. I also think, about an example that happened to me one time where I was working for somebody, and it was a pretty high stress environment and very fast paced. And the boss, it's hard to cope in some of those sort of environments and hard to know how to respond. And so the boss's response was to go into sort of this micromanagement phase, or this state where they were acutely aware of minute details that probably weren't the most important thing, and they probably could have and would have been better spending their time focusing on other things rather than micromanaging my work and the work of my colleagues and coworkers. But that's what they knew, and that's what they were comfortable with. And this is totally us, and this is what we see with Peter today. The Lord is transfigured. I don't know what to do here, so I'm going to do something. I'm going to fall back to what I know, making tents. Was it the best thing at that time? Maybe not. And for us, when we are confronted with situations that we are not expecting or not used to, perhaps we're uncomfortable with them, what is our response? I think the inclination is to go to what we are comfortable with, what we're familiar with, what has helped us before. And there are times when that will be perfectly fine and it will be okay. But I think the challenge for us this week, what I'm getting out of this gospel, is to pause and reflect on, is my response to this situation here and now the most helpful? Is this what is really best for me to do at this time? Is this going to be best for the people around me? So yeah, the gospel is certainly got a lot of material to reflect on spiritually, but psychologically, this is totally relevant because we want to do what we're comfortable with. We want to dive into what we know, what we're good at, even though it might not always be the best approach for every situation. So good stuff to think about, good stuff to pray about as we keep moving along our journey throughout the course of Lent. Hope you found this helpful, and I hope that I'll see you next time. Between now and then, I'll be praying for you. I hope you'll pray for me. Have a good and safe, happy St. Patrick's Day and a blessed week, and I'll see you next time. I'm Dr. Garrett Boyer. This is Gospel Minded. Take care.